Enemy cruiser sunk.
Hi guys, today we're going to show off the Albemarle. Additionally, we're also testing a new microphone to see if it works properly and it's doing its job as it intended, as a significant improvement over the other one. So, without much further ado, let's take a look. Now, the Albemarle has got a lot of different options for builds, which I really love in a bow. You've got tons of variety, so the build I show you here is not the best build, it's not the worst build, it's just my build. I think this is a good strong build for it, so I'll go over it now and you take a look. Aiming systems, without a doubt, I think in terms of flexibility this is probably the best for you. Main battery I wouldn't recommend because the turrets turn just alright. They're not great, but they turn on time. Steering gears, probably a better option. Your damage control, you have the heal to compensate. The steering is more important for you. This is where you can do some alteration. Concealment's always nice, and so is rudder shift, so it's added these two. Obviously you wouldn't go for target acquisition because that's just not very viable for you because you have a radar. Now again, another option here is probably between main battery mod and range, so gunfire control. I believe Zarkin uses a range mod, and that's fair play to him. I prefer the better reload for the higher damage per minute because, you know, this is a cruiser after all, and I believe cruisers should be doing large amounts of damage per minute. So main battery mod for me is my option there, though gunfire control mod is a very viable option. Obviously this ship is now fully upgraded, at the time it was not. So commander build, I'm going to go through 3 different builds. Okay, I'm going to go through my one I used rather detailed, and I'll go show a brief summary of the one. So John Jellicoe, yes, John Jellicoe, best commander I think. Fire chance, okay, concealment, speed, and then you have the option of better range or better steering, and then you have the option for will to rebuild, fully packed. You could go for unstoppable, but I prefer fully packed or will to rebuild. And then inspirations, better stealth for Makawa, and then you can go for Kuznetsov for better range. Now the only issue of this build, and I must highlight this only issue of this build, range not great. 16.7 with the range option. Go for take this bit more concealing, 16.3. So the range on this particular build is not great, but if we put on a proper camo here, I do like this camo for the British, so let's take a look. See detectability, for example, 9.2 detection, very good detection. If you double this up instead of the Kuznetsov and you put Swersky in, we can do this real quick because I have the commander XP to waste. Voila! Stealth radar. But again, it's viable, you can build into it, but I just don't think it's that worth it. I prefer using my guns, you know, I'm not just waiting for that. So I'm going to change this back, but I'm just saying that's a viable option. You could do a stealth radar build. Russians are over here actually. God, forgive me, where am I? Better. This is the only weakness of this whole build. Wonderful builds. Only weakness is lack of range. That's why Kuznetsov is in there in the first place. Alternate builds. Fraser, but instead of home run as I usually run, igniter, and instead of Yamamoto, you would run. God, I've forgotten now. What would I run instead of Yamamoto? I had it all written down. Don't mind me. Instead of Yamamoto, you would run Kuznetsov for better range, or Swersky again for better concealment. Concealment is quite useful for the ship, so Swersky would be a very good option. And better range, you've already got the better range of this build, so yeah, definitely Swersky if you have him. And if you don't, then maybe something to do with survivability, maybe like Vian, or I would recommend, you know, Swersky again, but he's kind of a premium commander, so I wouldn't recommend him because I just don't feel that's right to do that. So maybe Philip Vian would be a good option. Tenet would be a good inspiration if you get hit a lot. Um, there's so many good options here. William Sims for additional health wouldn't be a bad choice. Norman Scott for additional dispersion. Well, you don't actually need these. They're very accurate as it is. Yeah, you've got tons of options here, really. John Jellicoe is a good inspiration as well. You can improve your heal. Tons of options, really. Faster cruiser speeds. I think that's Von Mueller. Speed is also very useful, so you could run speed. There's plenty of options here. So let's go back to commander choices here. You'd run Fraser with the Igniter skill. You could run incoming damage reduction or speed, or you could run AP, either one. But this would be the overall build you'd have. You'd swap out this inspiration for Swirsky, or you'd swap it out for maybe like Sims, or better incoming fire dispersion like Philip Vian. Or another option again, let me just use Angeline Belfast with double concealment again. I did test her out just to see if she was that viable, but the lack of fully packed is definitely an issue. But you do get the range. You do get a lot of range from this build. So you get refill station. That's also a 5% reduction in your reloads. That's another thing you could run. You could run Mimbelli as well on the Fraser build. But you get beyond range, igniter because of the additional 3%. It's always nice. Punch through is always good. Or you could do light fortress or good sponge. All three here are all good choices. And then the better dispersion is always nice. But I think I've tested a couple of them, and I think my overall best build is Mr. John Jellicoe with the good base trait. Every skill here is very useful, and a lot of them are interchangeable as well. Plus, you get the best concealment as well. Possibly stealth radar if you really need it, but I wouldn't bother with it. In terms of armor veer, we're just going to go quickly cover this. This is very important actually. Now, nose, 25mm. Okay, I know, doesn't seem like much, but it's very useful. Bounces all cruiser AP except super cruisers, and bounces 14-inch guns. And this is tier 7, so it does encounter some tier 6 ships, and not all tier 6s have 15-inch guns, like the Leon, the Poltava, the King George, the Duke of York. All these shells, you can just bow tank them without a problem, which is quite interesting and quite useful. Bow, pretty weak though, 25 all around. Relatively small though for the ship, so let's just take that off real quick. Sides, almost exclusively, like half the ship is like 27mm, so 15-inch guns. If you angle, you should be fine. Citadel itself is actually exposed, and quite a large amount of the ship is the Citadel armor. This being said, the armor belt is 152mm, so careful angling will yield a lot of good bounces. And that's another thing to point out that's very important. Let's keep this on here. Deck. 30mm deck, which means even 16-inch shells from long range, the plunging fire, if you can actually bounce that, because you have 30mm deck armor, you can actually bounce 16-inch shells with 30mm. Even the Ghost of Kerfurst. The Yamato punches right through, but that's a Yamato. What doesn't it punch right through? So yeah, 30mm deck, and your Citadel, if you angle it, this is armor belt, you can bounce a reliably good amount of hits. You're still going to take some damage. You're going to take some chip damage, but overall, fairly tanky ship if angled correctly. If bow tanking, punches right through into that gigantic Citadel, it will not be pretty. And do not give too much angle, it will hurt very much. So yeah, very good hidden. Very fast fire rate, considering you have a lot of good guns and a lot of very high fire chance. 19% is pretty darn scary. Plus you also have this English quarter pen, so these 2 or 3mm shells can pen 50mm of armor. And if we take a quick look at the Vladivostok, oh no, there we go. Let's go over Vladivostok. Take a look at the deck armor of the Vladivostok. 50mm. So this bit here is all pennable by the Albemarle. So you can pen even the Russian bows. Yeah, see, there's the button at the bottom. Yeah, you can pen the whole nose. The whole nose is 32. Forget about that. The deck's 40. and some part of the deck's 50 as well. You can pen all this. All this you can pen. All that penable. Can't pen the armor built, of course, but why would you try? The deck, 50mm, so you can pen that as well. So you can pen almost the whole ship. One thing you can't really pen is the Citadel itself, which is quite funny, and the armor built on the Citadel. So yeah, you can pen even the toughest of ships with your high explosive shells. This has been recorded on a different wee section, so please tell me how you think the sound sounds on this, and I'll do alternate way of recording in the actual gameplay. So yeah, see you now. See you next time. And hello again with the power of editing. This time, unfortunately, the Basil clips here was, shall I say, corrupted by my own voice and Mr. Blogo's voice and my division mate, as I had my recording setting all set up to record party audio. So that was a mistake on my part. But this is good for me. It lets me test out my voice, my new headset, and see if it actually is very useful and effective. Please do tell me in the comments below if I want to, if this is good, if this is bad, I need to turn it up, I need to turn it down. All this helps me make better content for you guys, and yeah, just help on. So without much further ado, let's head into the battle. Albemarle High Explosive is very, very good. The AP is definitely a niche on the broadside ships. You definitely want to be only using it on a broadsiding cruiser and the occasional close range broadsiding battleship. You could use AP on broadside anything, but you really don't want to be using it as a staple. Your staple is HE. It's a very powerful HE. It pens and it's relatively accurate, especially with a Jellicoe, as with a Fraser or a Belfast build. With my John Jellicoe build, it's still accurate, it's just not as accurate. The difference is not that noticeable, as you can see. 8 shell hits there, 4 shatters on the Massachusetts, I believe, turret that was. He got a decent salvo on me there, just managed to turn away in time to mitigate most of it though. At this range, most of the shells can hit the deck and actually can bounce, even 16-inch shells. So kiting from range is really what you want to do early game, and if possible, doing late game would be great. But this boat can brawl. This boat can certainly brawl if need be. It is very chunky as well. That is something to note. Chunkiness, tick box check. He hit me right through my butt there. Not very nice of him. A bit lewd there. So let's move on from that topic there. Kiting away from range. I have limited range of this John Jellicoe build, but at this range I'm kind of comfy. 15-16 kilometers is kind of the sweet spot, I believe, for the Albemarle. If I had the alternate, I'm not sure actually have the additional range or the additional steering. Both are viable options here. And yeah, like I didn't really take much damage, and I've dealt 14k in return, so I'm pretty happy with it. I've taken, it's gonna build up, you know, but we're getting there. Division mate, unfortunately, is not angling enough. He needs to angle away. He's doing so, but yeah, not great. We'll move on to him because, oh, there we go. Massachusetts was on 3 fire set, and that poor guy, he's on 18k. I'm on 18k, and he's burning very nicely. Torpedo's more of a opportune moment situation. 10 kilometers, just like the Edinburgh. I think it's very similar to the Edinburgh. They're very decent. They're very good torpedoes. They don't hit very hard because they're British, and you really want to be using them on the right time. Just when someone really, when someone doesn't notice you, that's when you'll notice that. Now, as you see, prime example, prime ship to shoot at, Vladivostok. It happens to be Celestial, who I actually stream with very often. Funny that. And I do set him on fire and get a couple of defender ribbons because that's the only cap that team is contesting. Notice most of the shatters here are hitting his gun turrets. The rest are pens. So you see, look at that. That's a lot of. I only hit him once, I believe, but I penned him without a problem. Any other HE spammer, you would get a lot more shatters than a Vladivostok, purely because you don't have that pen. The only thing that has this pen is the Hipper, and the Hipper has nowhere near the same alpha and the same fire chance as the Albemarle. It's nowhere near in competitive stage in that regard. So I'm just resetting them here. I come across Miss Y here, which is interesting again. Those two are in division. We kind of sync chop together, but we do our damnedest to kill each other, and that's always the fun thing about it. She's trying out the new and improved version of the Azuma. The Azuma was never a strong ship, but it was a decent ship. Certainly something you don't push in, and yeah, you see that's the improved penetration angles there. Got a pretty good shot of my butt. Pretty good shot of my stern, sir. So yeah, she's coming for blood. Meantime though, I can just happily kite away, angling as best I can, and penning pretty much whatever I want to pen. And every part of a boat is just fodder for me. I'm in reverse here. This is one common tactic I recommend people doing. When you're kiting away and you're approaching the map border, just kite away in reverse. You'll have a lot more time, people don't notice it, and you can always reposition after the kiting situation is done. But you see the Albemarle, it pens everything. The HE is good. You want to try and aim for different parts of the ships. You want to try and stack these fires, and you don't want to be exposing your ship to any more fire, any more damage, and any damage you do take, you can, most of the time, you can angle against it comfortably. You have British shell arcs, so you can lob shells over islands quite comfortably, and again, they're very relatively accurate. Like that. That's nearly max range, and I'm hitting quite consistently. Can I get this kill? Someone else is hitting Pyramus Y as well. I don't think I get a hit on them. No hit. But that's the fire. The fire gets, okay, that's good. I believe that's still doing his thing. He can't hit me at this range because he is a Vladivostok. That's the thing about Vladivostok. It does not excel at range. Oh, he's going for someone else. That works too. Well, that was a miss, unfortunately. But you see, I've only done 3 fires, but it's more the pen damage than anything else. 96,586. Most of that is from pen damage. And I say this, and I just get the wither, but you do get as well. A lot of it is from the pen damage, but you do get some fires. I've only set 5 fires, so I've done a fair amount. I believe it's, I forget what it is now. I think it's 50k from wither. I could be wrong, but half my damage has been from fires, and the other half is just been from sheer pens. If you take a look and notice that every shot, most of it is a pen, you will see the real damage clicking in there. Fires are great and they really do add up and add to your damage, but you really want to be using those penetrating hits that really do the damage. So this is the whole thing about EOP, to take it or not take it. Like the Cleveland will get a lot of shatters if you don't use EOP, even unless you're heading for the superstructure, which quickly will be saturated. With the Albemarle, you can hit almost anywhere in the ship except the turrets, and you will get comfortable pens no matter where you hit, as long as it's not above a plating that is over 50mm, which is rare to find on most ships that aren't the turrets. So yeah, trying to push forward here. I did have to kite away quite extensively, being chased by a Massachusetts, Vladivostok, and an Azuma was a bit much. 2 16-inch guns and then 310mm HE does tend to hurt. So, trying to get back into range and trying to kite into the situation here. We're moving in forward here, just trying to get these low-key stealth shots. I am spotted, yes, but I'm just trying to get these wee tiny shots in while I'm getting into range. There's no reason not to. You never know, you might get a decent hit, you might not. There we go, 2 hits there. Moving on, and I'm just trying to progress forward. It's not particularly fast boat, but it's not slow either. 33 knots is pretty decent, pretty standard for a cruiser. And there we go, we get our fire, we get 4 pens and then 2 shatters because we hit the turrets. And that is it. That's the only thing you shatter on the whole boat except the citadel itself. Alright, I think the Massachusetts got some fire there. We're going to slow down, we're going to turn in. A good way to tell if you're... Oh, that wasn't a good shot. Not a good block on my part. Good way to tell if a shell is going to hit you or not. If it's far left, then you should slow down. If it's close to the middle of the ship, you should probably speed up. And then if it's to the right of your ship, you definitely need to speed up. Because if it's on the right hand side of your boat, then you need to accelerate. If it's on the left hand side of the boat, you need to go in reverse. And if it's in the middle, you need to do one or the other to try and turn your ship and dodge as much as you can. So there we go, he's on the left hand side, so we try to mitigate that by turning away. We are giving bow on to him, but it's more to present a smaller profile than anything else, because if you wanted to, you can punch straight through that bow. Fire some single fire torpedoes at that, Bismarck, unfortunately, he just died shortly after. I'm just thinking quick in that situation. So we're stacking up some fires. We're doing some decent there. Picked up the high caliber. That's always nice. Pretty healthy Jean Bart. Let's see what we can do to him. Massachusetts is still shelling us. Fortunately, we do bounce a shot. Although we had to take a little bit of a heat from the Jean Bart. There's our heel popping in. Very similar to Edinburgh heel. I still haven't confirmed if it's the same. It might be. It's very similar. So there we go. Let's just burn the Jean Bart. The whole thing is 32, so it's just gigantic pens everywhere except the turrets. He's on double fire. He's not having a fun time. Let's fire some single fire torps. Space them out a little bit so we actually have a spread. If I fired wide angle, then I think he would just may take at least one or none at all. So let's fire the single fire. This is what the single fire is used for. You want to be using that for targets that are attacking you bow on or stern on. Angling my best I can against the Jean Bart because he is still trying to get me there. And as you can see, bouncing most of the shots, which is always nice. Bismarck is over there. Bismarck, still relatively inaccurate battleship. I'd rather get broadside to him than a Jean Bart. So we go pushing there. DD runs into us a little bit. We can't change course because we need to keep this angle. No DDs about, by the way, unfortunately, so no use of a radar, which is a little bit upsetting, but oh well. Bismarck tries to get a shot in, but we do slow down and do his salvo. Fire a nice wee single fire set on the Jean Bart. It looks really, really good. Oof. There's a little bit of hurt there. We still got our Bismarck fire. Oh, that's a Baltimore. That was a Baltimore. I thought it was Bismarck briefly. But yeah, we do our best to angle as much as we can against both ships. The only situation here is to push into this island, and yep. Well, unfortunately though, would have been a really good game if not for the enemy team really not doing well on any other flank. We just capped out on points, unfortunately. But decent game, decent illustration of Albemarle. When you push in, you can definitely tank. When you go in there and you start the fires, you can definitely get some burn damage there. High caliber, Witherer, and a Dreadnought with 173,017 fires. So I hope this helps, and yeah, I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.